Okay, so good morning, everybody. I think this is working. I hope it's working. It's been a while since I've done this, but I'm just doing a book review this morning to celebrate Han Kang's win of the Nobel Prize for Literature 2024. So, welcome back to Barry's Book Reviews. I think this is episode number 44. And like I said, today we're looking into a profound and haunting novel that has left a significant mark on Korean literature and global literature. And that book is Human Acts by Han Kang. It was translated into English by Deborah Smith. And Han Kang has, of course, just won the Nobel Prize for Literature 2024. It was announced just a couple of days ago. And this makes Han Kang the first Korean writer to win the award. And the Swedish Academy, they said they gave her the award for her intense poetic prose that confronts historical traumas and exposes the fragility of human life. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. And it probably won't be too long today. I'm actually rushing to get out to work this morning. But I'll try and share my thoughts. I think this is Han Kang's best novel, actually. But like her other books, it did garner a lot of international acclaim, although not as much as The Vegetarian, and perhaps not even as much as the next book that was translated, The White Book. But personally, I think it's her strongest work. Even before the Nobel win, of course, Han Kang was very celebrated in South Korea and on the global stage. And as is significant for today's novel, Han Kang was born in Gwangju in 1970. And she has gained this reputation, global reputation now for writing evocative and introspective novels. Her first novel to be translated into English was The Vegetarian, which won the Man Booker International Prize in 2016. And I guess that's what set her on the path to winning the Nobel Prize, sort of catapulted her to worldwide fame and acclaim. Following that, her novel, The White Book, was also shortlisted for the Man Booker. It didn't win the Man Booker, and Human Acts came out in between The Vegetarian and The White Book, but it wasn't nominated for the Man Booker. And Human Acts was originally published in Korea in 2014. The Korean title is actually Sonyeoni Onda, which translates to The Boy is Coming. And it was released in English in 2016. Like her other novels, it was translated by Deborah Smith. I think most of her novels, so The Vegetarian, Human Acts, and The White Book, were translated by Deborah Smith. And another novel, Greek Lessons, was co-translated by Deborah Smith. And there's one or two short stories that you can get in English as well. I can't remember who the translator is for those ones. I might try and review those sometime soon too. But Smith is also known for translating works by Bae Soo-ah and various other people. And she runs, or used to run, I'm not entirely sure, Tilted Axis Press, which is a non-profit publishing house that focuses on contemporary and feminist literature from Asia. Let me just check that this is actually working. I'm never sure if these things are working. Okay, it looks like it's working. I hope it is. Okay, so right. So this is a novel about the Gwangju Uprising. The Gwangju Uprising is a very significant event in South Korea's modern history, and there's a very tragic chapter in the history of South Korea. And what Human Acts does is it tackles the Gwangju Uprising head on. So starting from the most visceral aftermath. So the Gwangju Uprising is also known as the May 18th Democratic Uprising that occurred in May 1980. When citizens of the town Gwangju protested against the military dictatorship of Chun Doo-hwan. Chun Doo-hwan had seized power of the country following the assassination of President Park Chung-hee. And the military's suppression, the sort of brutal suppression of the uprising, resulted in the deaths of many hundreds, possibly even thousands of civilians. And the estimates about this vary widely due to government censorship at the time and in the years following. And Han Kang approaches this event by focusing on the human cost of this tragedy. The novel opens with a very harrowing description of piles of dead bodies laid out in a gymnasium for families to identify. And it's a very stark and unsettling image that sets the tone for the rest of the book. The protagonist in the first chapter is Kang Dong-ho. Kang Dong-ho is a middle school student who volunteers to help with this exceedingly gruesome task of handling the corpses of the dead. And through his eyes, we witness the atrocities that have been committed and just the overwhelming, near unimaginable grief that is enveloping this community. Each subsequent chapter moves forward in time, tracing the ripple effect of the uprising on various individuals who are connected in some way to Dongho or connected to the incident. So we have this structure not only personalizes the historical event, but it also illustrates just how the trauma inflicted during those days continue to affect survivors for decades. And apart from Dongho, Dongho is a thread throughout the book, but there are some other characters that Han Kang uses to illustrate the aftermath of the uprising. And so, yeah, each subsequent chapter introduces us to a different character whose life somehow connects to Dongho. So, for instance, the second chapter is narrated from the perspective of Dongho's friend, whose soul is lingering around his dead and now decaying body. Very poignant, very surreal exploration of lost innocence. In later chapters, we meet an editor in 1985, so sometime later, who's attempting to publish a manuscript about the uprising, only to face severe censorship and persecution from the authorities. And then another chapter set a little later follows a former prisoner who's struggling with alcoholism and just the psychological scars of torture. And these characters represent the collective suffering and the enduring impact of the uprising on those who survived. And through these interconnected stories, Han Kang paints a comprehensive picture of the personal tragedy and the society-wide ramifications of this event. And as a narrative, it explores themes of memory, grief, and the struggle for truth in the face of oppressive silence. And so, as a writer, Han Kang is, of course, renowned for her powerful imagery. When we can see this in The Vegetarian, in The White Book, also in Greek lessons. So, do we see this, that the human acts exhibit the same talent? And I think we absolutely do. So, Han Kang's use of imagery here is haunting, at times very moving, deeply moving. And one of the most striking examples is the depiction of this censored play in the chapter about the editor. So the actors are performing on stage, but they're silently mouthing their lines because so much of the script has been redacted by government censors. And initially, the audience is confused. But as the realization dawns on them, this silent performance becomes a powerful act of rebellion and a metaphor for the suppressed voices of the people. Another unforgettable image is from the second chapter. And this is where the disembodied soul of Dong Ho's friend hovers around his own corpse. And he observes the world around him as his body decays. And it's a very surreal but deeply disturbing and emotional perspective on death and longing for connection. And as I'm sure you'll have gathered, Han Kang doesn't shy away from the grotesque realities of violence, but she does weave beauty into these descriptions. And I think this forces us to confront the rawness of human suffering and at the same time acknowledges the resilience of the human spirit. And ultimately, Human Acts is not just a historical novel, but it's also a profound exploration of human emotion and memory. And while it is grounded in this specific historical event, these themes are, of course, universal. Han Kang is looking at how individuals and communities process trauma, historical trauma, and the importance of remembering, in the face of attempts to erase history, the complexities of forgiveness and healing. And I think this novel also raises questions about the nature of humanity, questions which are, of course, very pertinent today with various things that are happening. I'm sure if you look at the news, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. What allows people to commit atrocities? How do other people find the strength to survive and bear some kind of witness? So, Human Act is a challenging read, emotionally and intellectually, but it's also a very necessary one, I think, that contributes to a greater understanding of a pivotal moment in South Korean history and its lasting impact on the human psyche of those that were affected by it. It's very compelling. It's an important book. Like I said, I think it's her best novel. I'm sure some people might disagree. Anyway, thank you for listening to my thoughts on this remarkable book. I highly recommend it to anyone interested in powerful storytelling. And it's available in bookstores and online. You might have trouble getting a physical copy if you're in Korea at the moment. I think I've been hearing lots of the bookshops have sold out of Han Kang books. But anyway, I'm sure you can get the digital version online. And I think I'll try and come back and review The Vegetarian and maybe a couple of her short stories sometime. I've got a busy teaching schedule just now. I've got a comment. Oh God, I put the wrong title. I didn't change the title. I'll update the title as soon as I'm finished. Anyway, nice to see you, Charles. And yeah, that's it for today. So I might come back later on and do a review of The Vegetarian or some Han Kang short stories. Okay, I hope this is recorded. Do you know if I hope it's recorded, Charles? Anyway, I'll speak to you later.